Hey guys, welcome to the Binge Zone. On today's video, we're going to be recapping Season 3 of 13 Reasons Why. But without further ado, let's just dive into the recap. Season 3 starts off 8 months after the finale of Season 2, and we see that Clay's being arrested in school. The new girl Ani sees this and tells Jessica, who ends up telling Zach and Alex. And a few students, including Justin, were questioned by the police about what happened at the dance at the end of Season 2, because if you guys remember, at the end of last season, Tyler came to the school dance in order to shoot the school up, but the crew ends up stopping him and Tony ends up confiscating Tyler's guns. Clay is then being questioned by Deputy Stanhall and Mrs. Walker about Bryce's disappearance. While Zach is coaching his football players and Jessica is being scolded at by the principal, they all receive a text that Bryce has gone missing. Clay and his friends then meet up at Monet in order to discuss taking care of Tyler, which Zach wants no part of. Deputy Stanhall then questions Alex about Bryce's disappearance. And after Tony drives Tyler to school, Tyler encounters Monty for the first time and has an anxiety attack. Clay then ends up giving the new girl Ani a tour of the school, and Ani meets a number of Clay's friends, such as Jessica, as well as Tyler and Justin. And while searching through a bunch of photos of the homecoming game, Justin finds out that Zach was lying about who broke his leg. Zach calls Bryce on the phone near the pier, and Tyler is replaying a voicemail left to him by Bryce, and Deputy Stanhall brings Monty in to question him about Bryce. Ani continues to pry into the disappearance of Bryce. Clay then creates a schedule so various friends of his can take care of Tyler. Clay and Ani talk to Zach about his tumultuous relationship with Bryce before a flashback shows Zach being voted as the team captain over Monty. More about Zach's past is discovered, especially his relationship with Chloe, who is Bryce's ex-girlfriend. After Monty confronts Tyler, Alex threatens Monty in the bathroom, and Tyler ends up seeing the school's guidance counselor, and Tony is being questioned by Sheriff Diaz. Clay and Ani talk to Chloe about Bryce, and we see a flashback of Chloe's association with Zach, and which he helps her get an abortion. And Chloe is reeling from her abortion, but Zach consoles her. Clay finds out that Ani has been lying to him about her relationship with Bryce for months, and Bryce is being bullied and tormented by the entitled douchebags at Hillcrest. Tyler then contemplates suicide by drowning, and Zach continues to console Chloe about her decision before the cops fish out Bryce's dead body in the river. Clay then goes over to Bryce's and learns that Bryce's body was found. Justin is very upset over this because Bryce was his best friend since he was 8 years old. After Principal Bolin tells the school that Bryce is dead, Clay and Ani question if maybe Jessica did it, and a flashback shows that Jessica was elected to student council president. Jessica confronts Bryce about how even though she is doing fine, he affected her greatly. Ani suggests that Jessica masturbates in order to help her sex-related issues with Alex, and through this experience, Jessica gains control of her body and really knows what she wants. A flashback shows Ani and Clay going on a date before returning to the present, where Clay and Ani grow suspicious of Justin and follow him to a motel. Tyler then asks Tony where his guns are kept because he wants to get rid of one more gun that he kept. Clay and Ani believe Jessica and Justin killed Bryce, but they are proven wrong when Justin tells them about the last time he spoke with Bryce and threatened Bryce to stay away from Jessica. Bryce tries to apologize to Jessica at her job, and Jessica breaks up with Alex after having really terrible and trash-ass sex. Jessica then exercises control of her body by having kinky wild sex with Justin. Tyler seems more suspect in Bryce's death as he looks at pictures of Bryce's dead body in the river with his gun next to him. It comes to Justin, Tony, Ani, and Clay's attention that Bryce was shot and they suspect it was Tyler. Ani narrates why it makes sense that Tyler would be a killer. While at the movies, Alex pretty much finds out that Justin and Jessica are hooking up. A flashback shows Zach informing Tyler that Bryce knows everything, which is a motive to kill him. Tony helps Tyler channel his rage into boxing, and Tyler attends a meeting with rape survivors and allies. While in Tyler's room, Clay rummages through Tyler's things and finds images of Bryce's dead body on his laptop. Clay is then convinced that Tyler killed Bryce. A flashback shows that Tyler confronted Bryce because he believed it was him who ordered Monty to rape him. Clay is wrong about Tyler after Tyler explains everything, including why he kept a gun and his desire to commit suicide. At Monet's, after Zach leaves in a hissy fit, the gang finds out that Bryce didn't die from a gunshot wound but died as a result of blunt force trauma. When the police find blood and drugs at the crime scene, Bryce's death turns into a homicide investigation, and during a school search, the cops find Luke with steroids in his bag. Justin finds out that Alex has been using steroids, and Clay and Ani confront Alex about it. The steroid connection forces Ani and Clay to investigate Monty. Clay and Ani follow Monty home, and at night hear an altercation between Monty and his drunk, abusive father. A flashback shows Monty attending a party where he meets Winston, whom sucks his dick, but later on Monty assaults him. Shit. Ani and Clay found out that Alex lied about buying drugs from Monty, and their investigation leads them to a prostitute that Alex has been fucking on multiple occasions. Bryce and Alex break into and vandalize Mr. Walker's home. After the incident, Alex calls Bryce a horrible human being and walks away wanting to never see him again. Mrs. Walker tells her father that Bryce is dead. Ani finds Tony's Mustang in the Walker's garage. Everybody attends Bryce's funeral. We see a flashback of the Walker family's dysfunctional relationship. Deputy Stanhall questions Tony about his contact with Bryce. Zach and Mrs. Walker speak at the funeral. We see flashbacks between Mrs. Walker and Bryce that show Bryce wasn't always the monster that people thought he was. Ani and Clay think that Mr. Walker killed Bryce because Bryce threatened to expose Mr. Walker's illegitimate daughter, but their suspicion quickly turns to Tony when Clay finds Tony's Mustang in the Walker's garage. When Tony goes over to his parents so they can meet Caleb, Tony finds out that his family was taken by ICE. Justin goes to the movies and informs Jessica that Alex was taking steroids bought from Bryce and that Tony may have killed Bryce. In a flashback, we learn that the reason Bryce had Tony's Mustang is because Tony sold it to him in order to pay off his lawyers and get his family back from ICE. But Tony can only get his sister back. Deputy Stanhall then finds video surveillance footage of Clay pointing a gun at Bryce during the Hannah Baker trial. The cops then interrogate both Justin and Clay about the surveillance footage. Ani has doubts about Clay, questioning the kind of person he is and if he's capable of hurting somebody. Flashbacks show how insecure Clay is when he is around Ani, and after Mrs. Jensen stops Sheriff Diaz from interrogating Clay, she has doubts as to whether or not Clay has harmed Bryce. Ani begins to realize that Clay wanted more than a friendship with her, and Clay thinks people at school will see him as a murderer, of which Tony does when he offers to cover for Clay. Clay and Ani get into a serious argument over Bryce and Ani having sexual relations. During Ani's interrogation by Sheriff Diaz, we see flashbacks of Bryce and Ani having hot, passionate sex. Clay hallucinates about Bryce in class much like he did Hannah. Clay's parents argue over how much Clay has changed in the past year. Ani is now scared of Clay because she doesn't know Clay like she thought she did and believes he had something to do with Bryce's death. Mr. Porter returned back to school to help the police with their investigation into Clay. Clay steals a letter from Mrs. Walker's desk that leads him to believe that she is the culprit in Bryce's death and has been trying to pin it on Clay. Tyler, Alex, and Zach defend Clay when Mr. Porter asks them questions about him. Ani remembers seeing Mr. Porter at the Walker residence. Various students defend Clay from Mr. Porter as a good guy who cares about people and wants to do the right thing. A flashback shows that Mr. Porter gave Bryce a journal as part of Bryce's ongoing therapy. A flashback shows Bryce and Mrs. Walker making an emotional breakthrough in therapy. Mr. Porter tells Clay that the trauma that Tyler has experienced must involve Monty. Tyler breaks down in tears when he tells Clay what happened to him in the bathroom. Tyler tells Clay that Bryce knew about the rape and dealt with it. Clay finds a bottle of Oxy in Justin's gym bag. Clay confronts Justin about the Oxy because he believes he is using again. Clay is now a person of interest in Bryce's death. Justin and Jessica decide not to hide their relationship anymore and start making out in the hallway. Clay doesn't believe that Justin isn't using drugs again, and all eyes are on Clay because he is now a suspect in Bryce's murder. A flashback shows Justin using and dealing drugs out of Monet in order to pay off a debt he owes to Seth. Justin gets caught and arrested, but Bryce and his lawyers bail him out of jail. Bryce ends up paying off Justin's debt to Seth. Ani, Clay, and Justin believe Seth killed Bryce. Clay catches Justin using and asks him how he came into possession of Bryce's watch, which he pawned to Seth for drugs. Flashback shows Zach making a switch to help Justin pass his drug test. Bryce continues to supply Justin with Oxy. Miss Baker calls Clay. Sheriff Diaz ends up questioning Miss Baker, thinking she had something to do with the Bryce death. Miss Baker and Jessica meet up and see how each other is doing since the Hannah Baker trial. Clay and Miss Baker meet up and she tells Clay to save himself. We see a flashback of Tony confronting Bryce because Miss Baker told Tony that is because of Bryce's family that Tony's family got deported. Bryce doesn't want to take any responsibility for the damage his actions have caused after he finds out that Mr. Baker did deport Tony's family. Later, Tony and Bryce listen to Hannah's tapes and Bryce wants to make things right with Miss Baker, but Tony won't allow it. Jessica refuses to be dumped by Justin and they kiss. A flashback shows Bryce meeting Miss Baker and wanting to apologize for what he did, but Miss Baker rejects his apology. A flashback shows that when Clay went to ask Ani to homecoming, he and Bryce got into a heated confrontation where Clay threatens to kill Bryce. Sheriff Diaz arrives at the Jensen home with a search warrant and the police begin searching the premises. After the cops search the Jensen home that night, everyone is on edge. Ani and Bryce have an awkward encounter in the morning because Bryce forcefully grabbed her by the pool. Principal Bolin tells Jessica she either apologizes at the assembly for her actions at homecoming or she will not be student council president. Jessica and Justin are panicking, trying to get their alibi straight in case the cops question them about homecoming. Tyler shows Jessica a video explaining what happened to him. A flashback shows Tyler showing Bryce the video explaining what happened to him and wanting to help. Jessica confronts Monty and wants to understand why he is the way he is. Another flashback shows Bryce confronts Monty and threatens to expose every bad thing he has done if he doesn't stay away from Tyler. The rape victims and allies interrupt the homecoming game, which eventually leads into a massive brawl. The case against Clay is very strong, and that instills a great fear enough for Clay to ask Tony to make him disappear. Clay flees and basically decides to become a fugitive. During the school assembly, several students stand up indicating that they are survivors of rape, including Tyler and Justin. After the assembly is over, Clay is arrested for the murder of Bryce Walker. A flashback shows Bryce breaking down and crying during a yoga session with his mom. Zach resigns as team captain. At the police station, Justin tells Jessica about how he was molested as a child. A flashback shows Clay seeing Bryce kiss Ani during the massive brawl. Clay goes to confront Bryce. Zach confesses to Alex that he killed Bryce and goes to the police station to turn himself in. During Zach's confession, we see a flashback showing Bryce witnessing how close Zach and Chloe are and how Zach was with her during the abortion, which was enough for Bryce to break Zach's leg during the brawl. Tyler goes to the police station to file a report. Zach continues with his confession and we see a flashback of Zach whooping Bryce's ass at the pier. Deputy Stanhall then tells Zach he didn't kill Bryce and what he did was assault and battery. Clay is in a jail cell and Monty's arrested for sexual assault and possibly murder. We finally see all this time Ani was talking to Deputy Stanhall and Ani tells Jessica that the worst thing she has done is sleep with Bryce. Mr. De La Cruz visits Monty in prison and their conversation where Mr. De La Cruz learns that Monty is gay and this piece of shit spits in his son's face and leaves. Clay is released from prison with a GPS ankle bracelet monitoring his movements. Ani goes to the police station and begins telling the truth to Deputy Stanhall. Alex is acting strange, especially when he asks Tyler for a gun. Now Ani starts telling the deputy lies and Monty meets Winston again, apologizes for what he did last summer and they have sex. During Ani's story, we see a flashback that shows that Bryce wanted to give Jessica a tape that it was Alex who killed Bryce by pushing him into the river while Alex was helping him because Bryce threatened Zach and thought Jessica set him up. We also see Ani talking to the gang, setting up alibis as well as gathering information to weave a story to tell Deputy Stanhall. Deputy Stanhall sees through Ani's story and realizes that Alex killed Bryce before telling Ani that Monty was killed in prison. In Clay's room, the gang learns of Monty's death and listens to the tape Bryce made where he acknowledges and confesses everything he's done. Everyone then moves on with their lives. During Thanksgiving, Caleb meets Tony's parents via Skype. Justin admits he wasn't clean and needs more help. Clay meets Ani's mom to where Ani says they are dating and Mrs. Walker's dad dies. At Monet's, there's an exhibit of photos that Tyler has taken. A fisherman finds the guns Tony disposed of, and Winston confronts Anya about what she said about what happened to Monty. And that is season 3 in a nutshell. A lot of flashbacks, a lot of redemption for Bryce, and overall we see that this gang has a lot of secrets buried between them, and I'm pretty excited to see how this show ends because there's a lot of things that keep these kids together and a lot of lies and secrets between them. Anyway guys, that's the recap for season 3. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button if you guys have not already, and until next time, binge on.